The game of Total War is a simulation on anger management. You play as one of 400 different factions with dangerous moral inclinations and then proceed to violent max your way to the very top. Which is why in today's video we're playing as Grombrindal, a walking, breathing, anemic man battery who has just failed his mandatory de-escalation seminar. After being evicted from Ulthuan for irreconcilable differences, he has one goal in life: passing his finals through a controlled emotional outburst and proving the elves wrong by burn maxing their donut shape HOA. Grombrindal starts in an area which for most of us don't matter. Naturally, I proceeded to turn the local Skaven population into a collection of decorative ashtrays. After taking the Elder Spire, we have to talk about the core Dawi experience, the Great Book of Grudges. Like any sane individual not currently under heavy sedation, the dwarves keep a receipt for every time they were mildly inconvinced. This Skaven existing, that's a grudge. An elf decided to breathe at a 45-degree angle, you better believe that's a tactical nuclear strike. Clearing these objectives lets us grudge max. This allows us to confederate other legendary lords by showing them our massive cock. I triggered the Living Ancestor event because Grom's reputation as a Fent demon, the local population believe he's a schizophrenic deity. You get 4 choices, 3 of them stroke his massive ego, and 1 actually helps. Later, after burning down rats holding sticks and dreams of a future, I finally cleared my first hindrance towards Ulthuan. With the Skaven gone, I only had Chaos, Dark Elves, Ogres, and the Living Dead to worry about. Now, if history has taught me anything, it's that the dwarves generally do not like the elves, especially if they are dark. So naturally, I went to the Ogres and burned them down to the ground. With the Ogres gone, a new threat appeared on the horizon. Malekith decided to settle in one of the nearby ruins. His upfront payment of a massive cash deposit immediately attracted the local population of homeless furries. As a good Samaritan, I helped him find a new home in the sky. With that out of the way, I saw this as a perfect time to establish new boundaries with my new neighbor. This boundary meant aggressively entering his home, throwing armed C4s at his men, and then burning them down for good measures. Malekith attempted to ignore the dwarf with emotional instability, which was not a smart thing of him to do. Taking over Har Ganeth brought our Age of Reckoning to a new age. What this means is, well, look, Naggaroth. Taking over Naggaroth, I crossed a part in my book. Malekith, now left homeless, began, just like in reality, slowly decomposing, but not before trying to drag me down to poverty with him. So once again, I had my men throw loaded C4 at the enemy. This lasted until Malekith appeared, and then suddenly decided to disappear. With Malekith being sent to the heaven for elves down below, I had finally achieved a common stereotype of every dwarven depiction. I built a cave in one of my settlements, successfully solidifying a racial stereotype. This grants us a special building, which, yes, is starting to feel like they are having vastly more mechanics than the other races combined. But as these great gates are expensive, it is also important to protect them, and there are 2 ways to go about it. Option A is that you build a defensive building. Option B, you remove every danger around the hemisphere. Is exactly what I will do because I'm not a pussy. And the only dangers are Valkia and her severely challenged vassal. Valkia being occupied with another set of dark elves, I saw this as a perfect opportunity to acquaint myself with her precious gold mine, but not before getting a trade agreement and 900 gold offering from Ulthuan's very own ice agent, Alif Anar. Before I could put my thick demented hands on the gold, I was sieged by Valkia and her army of melee units. She must not have been aware of my one and only successful strategy. After Valkia's defeat and gold mine taken, everything was going great until I reached her capital of Dagrak's End, and then I realized that the Altar Resolve was actively trying to gaslight me. It is important that you don't listen. This battle was a lesson in that even the toughest opponents can be stopped by the power of unity and friendship. That also happens to come in the form of a high velocity round. With Valkia successfully pacified, I had secured one of the 4 corners of the world. Wait a minute. With 2 new neighbors consisting of seductive women and also a lifelong dream of setting Ulthuan on fire, I proceeded east towards Har Ganeth. I told the press it was for peaceful exploration, but the locals clearly didn't believe in my non-violent intentions and immediately attacked. To the average person, this looks very bad. That's because it is. But I had a secret plan. By placing exactly 1 chopper and 4 professional arsonists, I managed to hold off 10 units. Meanwhile, my front line was completely unimportant, just a collection of short, angry speed bumps. Grombrindal, fearing for his waning virginity, decided to engage in active self-defense. This meant walking up to the crone and beating the shit out of her while he was getting bombarded by fire and bullets from his own men. Finding a new neighbor in Prince Sigwald, I checked the book to see if I had any legal reason to seize his land. It was here I realized that Har Ganeth was allegedly a bad faction, for reasons my dwarf brain couldn't process. I couldn't find anything about the frozen city in the book, so I had to just invent a reason and was immediately verbally attacked.
Bear in mind, dwarf, I have seen your mother, and even Nurgle could not manifest such a hideous visage.
In a moment of epiphany, surrounded by fire, a single thought crossed my cranium. Perhaps we are the problem. I quickly dismissed the thought. I didn't leave these lands because of a moral crisis. I left because they were absolutely disgusting, and I have standards. I moved south toward the local e-girls. I brought along Skalf, a special army that gets summoned when the spirometer hits critical levels. I proceeded to sabotage myself by refusing to perform any form of micromanagement. My men had already renounced hope for a bright future, or any semblance of a future, which was good because most of them died in a forest they didn't belong in. Afterward, I realized that the sisters weren't even in the book. I had committed a massive war crime for a tree I don't even want. Unfortunate. Back east, my guardians of the east were busy beating a sex criminal and Vikings to death. I checked my place in the world, rank 10.
Hey, that's pretty good.
This was worrying as I was about to fight Morathi and earn clearly better pixels at rank 4. Lacking therapy and any semblance of honor, I used an illegal move called cave diving to reach Quentex.
I'm a villain, not a monster.
I captured every city on the way, occasionally letting her take them back because grudge maxing is an art form. When the time came, I did what any gentleman would do. I rushed Grombrindal into 20 units and told my artillery to firebomb his exact coordinates. Finally, I was at the gates of Ulthuan. I did the quest battles, 20 seconds of loading, 10 minutes of arson, and repeat. I finally had enough points to confederate Torek. I managed to real estate max, acquiring half the world, which according to dwarven standards is a hill with a couple of settlements. Back north, Sigwald was successfully accumulating enough points, so I killed him. To mark my success over Morathi, I cornered her in Arnheim and was greeted by a stranger who brought gifts and crippling depression. With the Dark Elves falling, Tyrion quickly realized I was a strategic threat. My response was to create barely human bodies to throw at the elves. My progress, which just started mind you, was immediately halted by a very angry woman that has obviously misunderstood the elven roster. This battle was me standing completely still while my ranged units, which for some reason outnumber hers, managed to strike devastating blows. This lasted until my gyrocopters had to personally get involved, which they obviously did by airdrifting into the enemies aggressively. In an event of wonderful news, Tyrion claimed the Sword of Cain. What this means is that he will now be a bit too strong.
I wonder if a fall from this height would be enough to kill me.
Luckily, he was not a present force on the battle because he died in the previous turn. My progress was quickly accumulating on the elven-shaped donut, keeping a well-positioned three-man squad. With Tyrion and Elariel holding 6 provinces combined, Celestra decided to attack me. I solved this by how I solve all my problems. I gave her the settlement she just sacked and told her to fuck off. But obviously, it can never be that easy, because nothing can ever be that easy. Nakari, the famous sexual deviant, joined the battle. If the dwarven philosophy is a good defense is decades worth of pent-up aggression, Nakari is the opposite. He doesn't believe in the concept of defense, or personal space, or consent. This crazed, violent walking chlamydia rushed into my heavily armed Dawi with a non-binary squad of naked crab people and proceeded to beat the absolute shit out of them. My generals are now marked by Slanesh, a fate worse than being an Uber driver. Using the ancient tactic of not fighting fair, I pushed Nakari and Tyrion to their last legs. Cornering Tyrion, I could finally prove to him that I was ready to graduate my anger maxing course, which I showed by stealing his sword, only to realize that this little shit was on an island miles away. Should I A, leave him alone and prove the dwarves are an accepting, peaceful race, or B, do what I'm about to do right now? After a hard-fought battle, I removed the War of Vengeance, earning a special building that I can confidently say is absolutely not worth the effort. After the grudges, the wars and the property disputes, and several violations of international law, I finally stood on top of Ulthuan. The elves, refined, elegant, emotionally stable, were gone. And me, I had 14 armies, unresolved issues, and a book telling me that they were wrong. Well, that's about it for this one. Thanks for watching. Bye.